Hi, everybody. Show 765. It's Friday morning here in San Francisco. A few seconds after 5 a.m. It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 1400 in Barcelona. We're looking to see. We do have a Louis Vuitton Cup coming up on our backup. We've got backup on a computer coming from London. So in case the ESPN Plus doesn't work, let's go see if we've got anything on ESPN Plus while we look here. Theo Smith here, DeYoung, Richard Lawton, good morning to all of you. And we don't have ESPN Plus. Croutonicism, ESPN Plus on our cable system. Come on, ESPN Plus. Alistair Murray, good night to Tom and all the Zoomers. Rick Hayes in Chicago. Should be an exciting day, we can only hope. ESPN Plus. John Von Londigam. I think I get that correct here, John. Rick Bannero, and away we go. Is this one and done? Yeah, it could be. Ed Worley, of course, is on as a Zoomer. Rhode Island Rover. Mark Holland, very light breeze today, but a good morning to the Fosey Dumb. Well, we have a backup. We can go to it. That's what's coming off the computer from Great Britain. We have a VPN working to YouTube in GBR as we work to get something off ESPN Plus. In the meantime, let's see what we've got here. Let's go back to the slides for a moment and get off of our theme. Well, I went back to our theme song. I was getting that supposedly copyright royalty-free music. I was getting a copyright strike. No Julia here. We're in Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. There's Graham Sweeney on the Zoom. We've also got Ed Worley. John Emmett's in the airport, but we've got not a great audio connection with him. Julia's upstairs in the Commodore's suite. Yes, I did shave. I was afraid she was going to send the police check to see who the vagrant was that was living here in the Beach Street Yacht Club down in the downstairs apartment. We have GBR leading 6-4, as I'm sure you all know. Will they seal the deal today? One win. And they are on 7 points, which is through to the finals of the America's Cup, the 37th edition thereof, the match. And that'll be the first time that a British team has been in the match since 1964. 60 years ago. 60 years ago. Our schedule, upcoming schedule, we will do no regular show today. No regular show. Too much going on. I didn't have time to prepare a show. Will we have a watch party tomorrow? If there's no racing or if the Brits don't win a race today, we will have a watch party tomorrow. Lightish air forecast again tomorrow and Sunday. Could be a watch party also on Sunday. And then next week, we will do our regular shows both Tuesday and Friday at 1300. Nothing else going on next week until Saturday. And on Saturday, the 12th of October, the 37th America's Cup match, races 1 and 2 are, as you Brits would say, are scheduled. Are scheduled, as we Americans would say. Just a quick shout out to Mr. President, Alistair Murray, who joined Sean Hogan. Sean got out of the horse pistol. He's on the mend. He's out of the hospital, and they had some tonic, some good Australian red, and I don't know what that is, champagne, I guess, that Alistair's drinking, but bravo Zulu to Sean. Continued best wishes for a speedy recovery, and thanks, Mr. President, for sending that along. Let's go to our Zoomers as we are waiting. What's going on there? Go back to again. That is our feed from the UK via the VPN as the cable. ESPN Plus not working yet here on my cable system in San Francisco. They're running a package. ESPN Plus is up in Connecticut, Steve Atkins is saying, so we'll try again here. ESPN Plus on our cable system is where I'm getting it. I could also go to the computer and take it off there, but I've got now 6 computers in here. Okay. coming up on my cable system finally. You see the audio, a southerly thermal breeze, the Garby, supposedly 12 knots on the course now. Well, that's good news. Let's see what we've really got. And let's see if we can get the America's Cup dialed in on. As you see me here on the big screen, which is right now a multi-view mode. And we'll take it over here. There's the Louis Vuitton Cup in English. So that's a good sign. Let's take to that. Meanwhile, we got Graham Sweeney, our original, the OG, the original Zoomer is on. Graham, good morning or good afternoon to you in Scotland, where it is what, 13:06, 6 minutes after 1. You cheering for your Brits. We know you've got your Union Jack happy. And who's going to win today?
It's going to be one and done.
One and done. Okay, well, you've been pretty optimistic. Let's go to Ed Worley, who's down in SoCal. Ed, what's your prediction?
I think they're going to split the races today. I think we'll see. I think Luna Rossa is going to come back hard and fast, and it'll be interesting to see how they split it up. But GBR could finish it up today, and I would like to see that just to have the Cup and Great Britain back into the Cup race.
Your full screen as we're getting now a preview coming on. I got the cable working, which is good, but we've got the backup via VPN. We've got a London connection on the internet now via VPN and watching British YouTube, which is, of course, what John Emmett was watching. Let's see. We've got audio from John, who's standing by, I guess, at Heathrow. John, aren't you? Good morning or good afternoon to you, sir.
Oh, yeah, I'll be literally in the queue for the gate. So hopefully I won't be taking off for another 15 minutes and we'll see the first race.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on. I think we'll let you watch the show because there's a lot of background noise. If you have a pithy comment, put a hand up and I'll cut to you as we're watching now. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, they say, to the start, so we're well and truly into it. Claire Harrington saying LRPP wins 2 today. Brian Case, got to ask Tom from an Aussie, what's with the Vegemite? He's looking here on my desk set. Well, these are all gifts from Fozy. In fact, this wooden piece called the Croutonic Corner is from Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. Pedro Foiling Sailor, and these other things are from Claire Harrington, from Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin. That's a Royal Yacht Squadron. But I digress. We got croutons and more. Gordon Smith has supplied some things from Denmark from some of our favorite Fozy. As we are looking at a start in less than 2 minutes now, plenty of breeze. And we'll get a little audio up here in the background as the teams have entered. And you can see there is plenty of breeze. Let's go to full screen over here on our studio TV. Again, we don't want to get a copyright strike. We're watching this on ESPN Plus in the States. It's not expensive. $11, $10.99, although apparently they're raising the rates next month. As we're watching what could be the final match of the Louis Vuitton Cup Finals, Los Finales. It's must win for the Italians, who are down 6-4 to the Brits, first to 7, best of 13. Less than a minute now to the start. John Emmett, I'll try to do a sum-up video tonight as he is headed to, I think, Villamora to do ILCA 6 training, coaching, and more. Chris Fury, bring it on. He's in Melbourne, where the sailing season at Sandringham Yacht Club officially opens tomorrow. 40 seconds approaching the line. Ineos leading back. Ahead and to leeward. That has been their want, W-O-N-T. 26 seconds, not early at all. There's plenty of time to get down to the pin end, which is where Sir Ben has liked to start. As we watch the start, we've got John Emmett there in the Zoom square, and here we go. 7 seconds. John, you got to mute yourself, please. And there's the start. The Brits are heading to leeward. Are the Italians wide right? Are they on their hip with enough gauge, enough distance side to side so that they can live up there on the hip? John says no. No, in fact, it doesn't look like much gauge at all as they get over there to the, as Jody Shields calls it, the wall. And sure enough, the Italians tack off first. They're in a southerly, so the right side of the track, at least up the track, ought to be a bit favored as the Brits have the early lead in this 12 to 13 knots. As the Italians closing up, they're in high mode, coming up from underneath the Brits, closing it right up. And if they can get over to the boundary and get onto starboard tack, they may, in fact, be able to get onto starboard and have a shot at starboard right away with the Brits when they come back across. They're heading, as you can see, to the south, more or less parallel to the track. The Brits now back up to speed after that tack, on port tack, of course, both boats are. 14 knots of breeze, Steve Atkins is telling us. Polly's Dock and Clam House. Good morning, all. Andrew McIrvin, hi there from a windless Saint-Tropez. Our racing currently on hold. He's at the Maxi Cup there in the Big Boat and Classic Yacht Series. Here come the Italians tacking onto starboard. And will they be able to hit the Brits? Yes, the Brits attack, not attack, but they tack ahead to leeward. Now the Italians trying to go to leeward to them. Can they punch through to leeward? Are they air forward? No, they're not. They're going to have to tack away for clear air. So nice defensive move there by Ineos, Britannia, Sir Ben and Co. John Mangino saying hello all. Chris Exley cheering for Rita. Go Rita, meaning Ineos, Britannia. Bobby Steele says ESPN Plus not live yet for him. It is here on my cable system, Bob. Trey Ritter, good morning to you. Great breeze. Stingray saying up in Seattle. As the Italians now back over on the boundary, are behind again by 60 meters or so. That's a little less than 3 boat lengths, 25 meters to the length of these boats, so approximately. More than 3 boat lengths now, as the Brits will hit them again on the face. And the Italians will be forced, presumably, to tack away again for clear air. Tom, is that live or is that a replay of day 6? I hope that's live. Does anybody disagree? I hope, good morning from the bottom of Manhattan, that I hope is live. Bloody hell, don't tell. What's going on? It's the same thing I'm seeing on YouTube from England. Mr. Rainman, thank you. You're too kind. GBR looking very good. Jody Shields down in Oz saying game over as Ineos is through the gate first. Boundary bouncing, Ed Worley is saying. Dare I say, Chamber of Commerce conditions. Champagne conditions, Clark Chapin. Let's see what the delta is here. At the gate, it is 10 seconds. Tony Johnson saying extremely grateful for this feed. As I said, I'm watching it there off my cable system here in San Francisco. There, I'm watching it now off of, that is off of YouTube via VPN from London. We'll go back to our cable system. You can see it is different feeds, as John's been telling us. Alistair Murray confirming it is live, and the Brits are in the lead. As we're here in Studio B without Julia, she's upstairs in the Commodore's quarters here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. Let's see if we can get John Emmett, if we can get a reasonably clean feed from him. He is in Heathrow Airport. John, it looks like business as usual for Ineos Britannia.
Yeah, well, I think it's just on the third start in a row, and I think they've got really good pace. This is their sweet spot, 9 to 11 knots. So I think they're just going to sail away now. And it's very hard for the second boat because every time they go through the river, they go through the spring wash. So pretty
Yep.
Flat, no squeaky bums here in the queue.
No squeaky bums. You heard it here first from John Emmett. As we're watching now this feed, this is the feed from my cable system, ESPN Plus, and it really is quite different. I'm looking at the computer comparing notes on the world feed, which is coming off YouTube, but I'll stick to ESPN Plus for the moment. And the delta was 10 seconds. Yes, Andy Cox, thank you for that. Jonathan Frank, game over. A huge delta already, 200 meters more than the Italians trailing GBR, who, as we've said, and as you all know, are on match point. First to win 7 points, or normally 7 wins. They're on leg 2 of 8. Unless something happens to GBR, a breakdown or something else equally traumatic, I think this one is already in the bag for the Brits. John Sweeney saying, go Ineos, great covering. Yes, they are. They're staying between their opponent and the next gate, the downwind gate. As you can see, Barcelona, that's Porto Olimpico in the background where we sailed the 92 Olympics. GBR win the 3rd start in a row, John Emmett is observing. Well, he says that. I would argue with one of those starts, but not very strongly. Lumpy. Yeah, it's not that lumpy, Rick. A bit of lump. But the wind just came up. It was overnight and this morning, according to our Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club and Fozy, Super Fozy by now, Claire Harrington. It's been very light in the morning, and then the Garby came in here just about an hour. It came in, it broke again, Jonathan Frank is saying. I'm not sure what that means. Ed Worley, let's quickly go to you and see what your thoughts are as the Brits are leading again by almost 200 meters, Ed.
Yeah, I think John Emmett's right. I think it seems to be GBR's sweet spot, and they seem to be just stretching out, and they're looking flawless out there. Wow, really doing good job.
Indeed, they are. 190-meter lead as they're both on port tack now going up leg 3. Graham Sweeney, you must be smiling from ear to ear there in Scotland.
I am having a squeaky bum moment. I am worried sick that something's going to go wrong, you know. So I am really happy for this. I'm over the bloody moon. But, yeah, it's worrying. Let's get them all across the line and then I'll celebrate.
Okay. Commodore Chris Alderowski, past Commodore of the Seattle Yacht Club, immediate past Commodore of the Cruising Club of America, dear friend, is in Newport. He's left Barcelona where he was coming on via Zoom during several of the earlier races in this series, not this particular series, the finals. Richard Lawton, it's all over now for the Silver Bullet, he is saying. We've already had 100 messages today. We're only 18 minutes into this show. Mark Holland, our resident statistician, and listening to the audio for us, saying there's been a course change to 212 degrees, so it's a little west of south. Daniel Butler, Jimmy looks and sounds desperate looking around in the cockpit. Well, with a 170-meter lead or so, I'd be feeling a little desperate, too, if I were aboard Luna Rossa. Clark Chapin with the well-demonstrated fragility of these boats, it ain't over yet. Bannereau, whoa, is that an Italian submarine's periscope on the course? I don't think so. John Winder, good morning from Hamilton, Mass. Yarvahe, my aircraft carrier, issues stem jack in the bag and heading to Barcelona next Thursday. Yes, it's if this is over, well, whether or not it's over, the match starts next Saturday, a week from tomorrow, the 12th. Another good tack by GBR, John Emmett is observing, who is, again, not giving us play-by-play. The excellent play-by-play he's been giving us in previous days because he's standing by in Heathrow Airport while waiting for a flight to, I guess, Portugal. Alan Long, Mark Holland, a new graphic from ESPN. What was the graphic, Mark? Quite simply, John Emmett is saying Ineos has better VMG. Here comes the tax. as they're headed up. Are they on ley line now for the gate at the top of leg 3? The Brits covering tit for tat. Yep, the Brits are laying, as are the Italians. The Italians presumably having to suck a little dirty air, a little gas there from the back edges of those huge sails, those vertical wings. The vortex coming off the trailing edges of those sails, particularly the mainsail. The Brits around and through the gate. The delta is a split here as the Italians tack and go the other way. 11 seconds. What was the delta at the first? Was it less than that? It was more than that, wasn't it? 14 seconds or something? Rhode Island Rover, this may be sweet. Not over yet. Ha. J. Frederick Bland in Austin, Texas. Welcome to you. Don Lunabos up in wine country in Sonoma. John Bosley, dark and stormy time. 200-meter lead to the Brits down leg 4. Remember, it's an 8-leg course. There's Mike Mahoney on. Hello, Mike. He's here in the Bay Area. If boat holds together, Bob's your uncle. The fat sailor and maybe even lady is warming up, Emmett is saying. John thinks the Brits could win by 700 meters. Jonathan Frank quoting a skipper of the past. Anyone have any ideas? Who was that said that? Bus Mossbacker said that in a race. Cheers, Otto. Dick Henderson saying hi to Chris Otterowski. Dick Henderson up in Adam early. I hope he's on the mend. He's had a bit of a hell setback. If the Brits get through, if they win this one and go forward to the match, it'll be the first time, as I said at the top of the show, the first time in 60 years, since 1964, that the Brits have gone through into the America's Cup match after winning the Challenger Selection Series. Does anyone remember who was sailing in 64, what the Defender and the challenging yachts were? Me. Larry Kennedy saying he's got advice, as it's a little bit of a concertina here, as you Brits would say, but not much. When the Brits win this, John Emmett very positive the Brits are going to win. Andrew McIrvin saying he's having a large glass of French wine in Saint-Tropez. Last weekend he was with us at the Stag Cruise here in San Francisco, or up in the Delta. Doe, a deer, a female deer, Banero is saying. As that distance, the Delta of about 160 meters persists, the Brits in the lead, coming into the bottom of leg 4. Let's go listen on board to the audio.
The voice of Dylan Fletcher.
That's Dylan Fletcher. Coming into the gate, looks like they're just going to round up and head to the upwind left. Will the Italians split and do a U-turn around that bottom mark? There's the aerial we wanted to see. Indeed, they do. Not quite a 180-degree turn, but certainly a 90-plus, 100-degree turn or so. Boy, it's the better part of a U-turn. The Italians headed to the upwind right. Can they find some more pressure or a bit of a righty over there? Ooh, not a great tack by the Brits. A little slow coming out of that tack. Quite slow out of that tack. Now I can see Gordon is getting a little puckered there. Or sorry, not Gordon. Graham's getting a little puckered as the Delta is swiftly reducing. The Italians have tacked on to starboard. They will be the right-of-way boat. Graham coming across. How are you feeling it? Well, you're chewing something. Graham, how are you feeling at the moment?
I'm chewing some sweets because if I don't, I'll chew my nails.
Well, you're still comfortably ahead here at the cross, 100-plus meters, as the Brits tack to cover, as you would. Throw some dirty air at the Italians, protecting the upwind left. The Brits must like the upwind left. There's the wind wash graphically off their sails being displayed. Again, I go back to the main screen. What's the speculation on what the Brits will do next Cup if they win AC37? Well, Raymond, that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. We do have a bit of insight into that, but let's leave that for now. John Bosley, thank you for your kind comment. Sovereign, who was sailing in 64? Dick Anderson will know. Constellation with Dick Anderson. Now, Dick was in 62, I believe. Ed Worley, check that. U.S., Bob Bevere, Columbia. John Harper with a question mark. 1964, who was the 64 match? Come on, Ed Worley. He's Googling it. I can see he's Googling away there to double check who the 64 match was. Go Brits, Rick Reynolds is saying. Sharon Green is also in Saint-Tropez watching. Sharon, look up Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin. As we're saying, cover, cover, cover. It's closed right up again. The Brits just crossing on port by a boat length and a half. Now they've switched, changed sides. Ineos headed for the upwind right. Liking, I guess, the right side of the track. The Italians having a bit of success over there and generally more pressure and a bit of a righty in these southerlies. The Brits still in control, but just as it's now under 50 meters, the Delta, it's certainly squeaky bum time for you Brit fans as they're heading into the top of leg 5 to the upwind gate. Come on, give us an aerial, guys. There is Peter Lesser in the background. It's down to under 30 meters. The Brits are one tack ahead of the Italians. There's the Italians. They will lose a bit as they are coming across now on port tack. As the giveaway boat, they're going to cross the stern, it looks like, of the Brits. I think that upper right-hand side of the track looking good for the Brits at the moment. Both boats now up to speed, doing 38-ish knots. You can see at their mastheads. The right-of-way, of course, to the Brits. The Italians crossing just astern of them by about, oops, the Brits are going to face them. Doing a face plant right on them, going into the gate. The Brits wanting to go down the upwind right side of the track, the downwind left, just ahead of the Itals. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. We got a race on our hands. As we got 3 legs to go, the downwind leg and then one lap upwind and back. Maybe the wind is going down, John Harper. The speeds have gone down, at least they were on the upwind leg, a bit soft. Yarvahe, his bum's not squeaking, he says. Constellation beat American Eagle to defend in the defense trials in 64. Who was driving Connie? Yes, Dick Anderson was on Connie in 64. He's watching. He was a youngster, and he was, I think, kind of the mass man or mid-bow or something. Big, strong boy he was. Scott Davis saying he didn't want to get out of bed this morning, but he's glad he did. An actual race. The sailing gods at play, Tony Johnson is saying. Alistair Murray, Mr. President of Australian Sailing, saying, what a great race. 4 seconds was that delta. The Brits have extended now since that top gate. 15.1 knots. The wind speed last reported. Was it that much, Mark Holland? The foreshortening of the lens making it look perhaps a little closer than it really is there. I don't see a wind speed down here in the corner. Finally a boat race, Mike Mahoney is saying, indeed. They've shortened it to 1.6 nautical miles. They've got a television is in control. They've got a TV time that they're shooting for because there is potential for 2 races today if the Brits don't win this one. John Emmett guessing there's only 9 knots on the track. Jim Sears saying to Scotty, I am watching from bed. Mark Holland says that the TV indication is for fully 15.7 knots. Find that a little hard to believe, but how would you know? Come on, give us an aerial, guys, please. There's the aerial. Both boats on starboard jibe coming downhill. The Brits doing a beautiful job of covering. Very little difference in boat speed here. In fact, you could argue that the Italians have a click of speed and they're having to sail through the dirty air of the Brits. Even now, as they're going around, it looks like the upwind left end of the gate. 2 legs to go. The Brits within 2 legs of it advancing, as you would say in the UK, and a split again from the Italians wanting the upwind right, which proved helpful to them on the previous upwind leg. Furlongs per fortnight, Clark Chapin, I don't think so. Nice roundings by both boats. The Brits with a comfortable lead, but it is shrinking as the ITAL, you can see on the screen, it looks like more pressure over there on the upwind right, if you believe Cap Gemini and their overlay. 8-second delta there at gate 6. So it's been within 11 seconds, I think, this whole time. Scott Davis, I can't watch under the covers on my phone. The wife thinks I'm watching porn. Please, Scott, tell her you are. You're watching America's Cup porn, boat porn, as the Brits crossing easily ahead. The bottom right is the place to be. It remains ever the same. One back tack changes everything. Hello, Monica Diaz, who's in Spain. Last I knew, she was in Valencia for the TP52s, but that ended, the 52 Super Series. And the Brits, as you see, are 140 meters ahead, tacking now onto port to cover the Italians as they head to the upwind right side of the track. And once again, the lead shrinking as both boats, but the Brits have just come out of attack. But as John Emmett is saying, a nice control by the Brits. Here come the Italians, not getting too close to the boundary. Uh-oh, the trophy is on the move. That is the Italian... that is the Louis Vuitton case for the Louis Vuitton Cup on the bow of a chase boat, presumably going out onto the water, where it will be awarded on TV to the Brits if they can hang on here and win this 7th race. For them, the 7th race. It'll be the 11th race in the series. The Brits leading 6-4 at the moment. 6-4 in the first to win 7 or the first to 7 points. As the technicians on here will be quick to remind us that, yes, you could be awarded a point by the jury, or you could have a point more likely taken away by the jury if you, for example, got into a collision which you could have avoided as the right-of-way boat but failed to. Ineos in a tight cover, as you would, Ed Worley. Under 100 meters, the Italians are air forward. I don't think they're in the dirty air of the Brits at the moment, as they are closing it up, but the Brits still in control. It's down to just a little more than a boat length as they come into the top gate the final time. Now the Italians are going to be suffering some disturbed air off the Brits. Ineos talking about attack Barroway. I think I heard them say on that. Yeah, and that's what they're doing. They're going to tack and then bear away around the upwind right end of the gate. Presumably the Italians will split, head for the other end, sail a little bit longer distance, but be able to go down the track and hope for some better pressure on the downwind right, or maybe a better angle when they come back across on port. But it looks like the pressure is again on the downwind left side of the track. If you look up here, will GBR jibe early? John Emmett is asking. Yes, in fact, they do. They don't go all the way to the boundary. You would expect they would. They want to get over toward their opponent. 9-second delta, Clark Chapin is telling us. Thank you, Clark. Clark one of our key super Fozy, maybe the superest of all the Fozy. Hail Mary, Mother of God, Bannero is saying, Rick, I think the Brits are in control. Graham Sweeney, how are you feeling at the moment?
Oh, come on. I'm feeling terrified. I mean, let's just get this done. Then get them across the line.
They got a 200-meter lead, Graham.
I know, but it just isn't over until a fat lady sings, is it? I mean, we're British and we always get to finals and we never get to win.
Breathe, Graham. Scott Davis is saying, Yarvahe, yabba dabba doo. For those who worried about light winds and not tight racing, well, it's not that light. Halfway mark of this final leg, assuming Ben can keep going. Good thing he didn't leave the boat. I can't remember who it was saying he must leave the boat for the Brits to win. Whoever that was some kind of a massive crutonic. Graham's smiling at that one. Go, Ben. Christy Erickson Pryor. Say hi to your hubby, Christy. Give him a big hug for me. Rhode Island Rover, they do have 9/11 ready for Graham. They're going to put the paddles on him. Don't hold your breath, Graham. We're going to watch you going into this mark. See your reaction. Where's your dog? I had your dog on my cover page of my Facebook cover photo. Alistair Murray, well done, GBR. Go American Magic. I think they're gone. Gordon Smith just joining us. Did he miss anything, Gordon? You missed not too much, but you can plainly see the Brits are headed into the finish and are going to win this series 7-4. Bravo Zulu to Sir Ben Ainsley, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and the Brits, as they have won the LV Cup finale, the finals, over the Italians, 7-4. Ralphie Steitz, David Richard Morse, everyone sending their congratulations. Let's go quickly to John Emmett, who is in Heathrow Airport, and we don't have a great connection, but a good enough connection, John, to get your reaction. How do you like that? How do you like them apples, John, as we would say here in the States?
I think for me it was never in doubt. With 3 match points on the line, I think they just had to get it over the line, as it were. And I just hope we're super competitive with the Kiwis. And I really hope my plane goes.
Your plane is still delayed.
But I was very. Yeah, well, they let quite a few people on it about half an hour ago, and there was quite a few people who haven't been allowed into the queue in a bit. And I'm sort of in the, I don't know how far you can see, I'm in the security prison. But I think Ineos did have an advantage. I think strategically they made a mistake, and on the upwinds, that bottom right always looked good to me. So I think the right-hand mark would be the better one to go round, to be first into pressure. But, doesn't matter. They won pretty convincingly, not as convincingly as I was expecting. But, yeah, good job. And I guess by the time they get to dock, there'll be a nice man or woman standing there with a trophy for them.
Well, they may be bringing the trophy out there. I think that's why they put it on the chase boat. Not sure. But that's what it looked like. Sean Hogan, avenue of appeal for LRPP? No, I think this is done and dusted. Lori Fullerton saying it's so great. Bruce Nelson, thanks, Tom and all. See you for the Cup. I don't know, should we do this for the Cup? There's Sir Ben. What's he got to say?
Come on, lads. I think the biggest cheer there was,
well, that was Dylan Fletcher.
Here for his 6th
now we got Sir Ben on there. They're finally in the match after 60 years. She's tearful. Well, all of you Brits who stood by your team, bravo Zulu to you as well. It was a fantastic race, as Chris Otorowski is saying. Ed Worley thinks that Ineos is very impressive. Ed, let's go to you live on the Zoom. What are your thoughts?
It's great to be. It's great to watch history being made.
Yep. There's the trophy, El Trofeo. The LV Cup is back after we had a Prada Cup last time. Prada was sponsoring the Challenger Selection Series. Patrizio Bertelli, who has challenged now, 7 times? Or was this his 8th? I can't remember. Patrizio Bertelli, he has challenged quite a few more times now, several more times, than the T-Baron, Sir Thomas Lipton. There, I think the trophy's being lifted onto the boat, actually, out there on the water. They're going to hold it over their head and have a, no doubt, champagne moment. Well-deserved on the Brits. Martha Parker, thank you for your kind comment. Krasimir Naumov in Bulgaria, nice to see you on. We have people across the globe. Mike Mahoney now on to the 2024 U.S. Match Racing Championships for the Prince of Wales Bowl, which is going on here in San Francisco this weekend. By the way, if you're just still with us, we are not going to do a show this afternoon, our regular 1300 show. Just don't have time to prepare it. England is in the America's Cup for the first time since 1851, Clayton Embley is saying. Well, not really, Clayton. The first time since 1964 was the last time they were in the match, the finals. And 1851 technically was not the America's Cup. That was AC0. We don't really, most of us who are quasi-historians and those like the late, great Bob Fisher, he must be looking down from heaven. And very, very happy indeed for his British team. And Bob and I and Hamish Ross and a few others call it AC0 in 1851. And then the defense in 1870, we call AC1, the first actual America's Cup match when there was a deed of gift and a trophy. At least the press called it the America's Cup. There's, what's that? It looks like what's being handed over to the boat. GBR versus NZL. Rick Hayes is saying, can't wait. Yeah, Ben is smiling. He should be. The Italians will do the gentlemanly, the sportingly thing and give them a cheer if they haven't already. Andy Armstrong, thank you to you. Clark Chapin, I can envision the cycler saying, what just happened? Did we win? I couldn't see a thing. Chris Odorowski is in Newport, Rhode Island, but he's headed back to Barcelona. Barcelona, if you saw that video on my Facebook page the other day. I don't know, Chris. It's easier and I think a better service to the sport if I stay here in Studio B and do these watch parties here. John Emmett, have we lost you? Are you still on with us in the airport? We'll give you one last go here. If you haven't, maybe he's boarded his flight by now. We appreciate John's commentary throughout this, at least the latter part of this series. There he is. Let's go to John in Heathrow.
I'm still here, and the worrying thing is that people in the queue are all leaving. So I think I'm going to follow everyone else. Where's everybody going?
They change your gate.
I have no idea. I don't know, but I'm literally in the queue, and everyone behind me has left. But I saw somebody else who's doing the master.
You might, you're not on, John, you're not on EasyJet, are you?
No, I'm on BA. But everybody behind.
Well, they must have changed your gate.
Just left side of the security bit. So I have no idea.
Okay, well, safe travels. Have a good rest of your trip. Are you going to give us you've already given us a video for today. And I think that'll be posted.
I'll try and stick something.
Go ahead.
I'll try and stick something up when I get to Villamora.
Okay.
And I can't believe that I'm flying on the 12th as well. That's not very good timing.
There's the trophy. There's a new banner.
I'm just going to ask a nice man for BA what's.
Look at, they've got the managing director of LV out there on the bow of the boat with the Brits. There's the trophy being held by Dylan. Is that Dylan Fletcher? Oh, that's Ben. That's Sir Ben. Being held over his head. That'll be a nice photo. Tom Pace saying, congratulations, Ineos. Tom, of course, the Commodore of Pensacola Yacht Club. Tom, how did your club survive the hurricane? I hope they're okay. I know the panhandle of Florida, to say nothing of Georgia and North Carolina. Terrible. Helene, the effects there, but quite well done, Tom Pace is saying. Already looking ahead, we've heard from Dalton that if it is a final between NZL and GBR, it would be a deed sort of AC in 2 years from now. Is that right? I don't know about that. I doubt that, but there is discussion. There are negotiations, but they're probably already done between the Brits and the Kiwis. Yeah, you were just in time, Gordon Smith, to see them cross the line, your team and Andrew McIrvin's team and John Emmett's team and Graham Sweeney's team. A very happy crowd of Brits, probably all over the sailing world, cheering for Sir Ben. And I agree with John Emmett. We haven't said it this morning, but Dylan Fletcher, I think, is that Jim Ratcliffe that he is there? He got back into town for the photo op. There is Jim Ratcliffe with Ben and the LV Cup. The Brits have never hoisted the LV Cup. Of course, the LV Cup didn't come until 1983 when the late, great Peter de Savary was there in Newport. They got to the finals of the LVC and then lost, of course, to Australia 2, but performed quite a service, the Brits did, by tuning up Australia 2 in that series. And as you all know, Australia 2 went on to beat the Americans and end the New York Yacht Club's 132-year winning streak, the longest, we think, winning streak in the history of big-time sports. Sean Hogan, thanks, Tom. My audio dropped out some time ago. I can't lip read, but I get the impression the Brits are quite happy. Yeah, Sean. Again, Sean, bravo Zulu to you. We're really happy to see you out of the hospital. And I ran this picture at the top of the show. If you didn't see it, Sean, that Alistair sent me. That's the president of Australian Sailing, Alistair Murray, with Sean Hogan. I guess yesterday that's medicinal, right, Sean? The doctors prescribed a little bit of that good Aussie red wine when you got out. I hope so. And again, bravo Zulu to you, and hope for a continued speedy recovery as we're watching not frivolity. I mean, this is a well-deserved celebration on the bow of the British boat, as we have now the champagne celebration. Who's the champagne? Is it Moet? Or is it somebody else? Looks like a Moet bottle to me, but what would I know? It is Moet. I can tell by the label. Most of you would. Moet having been a long time sponsor of the America's Cup on and off, and of course that's a brand owned by Louis Vuitton, Moet, Hennessy, LVMH. Andrew McIrvin, Chris, hope to come and visit now. Chris, he's saying that to Chris Otorowski. Andrew McIrvin, Mr. Doctor. There's Jim Ratcliffe in the white shirt stepping gingerly off the bow, as you would. Philip Lindemann, who is a fan, he's done some sailing, but not a lot of sailing. He's in the comments, and he's in Cleveland, last I knew, and Philip is saying 1964 AC, 60 years ago, was in September that year. I was 6 months old. Chris Ferry, outstanding sailing, well done, Rita, which, of course, all of Ben's boats, you can see the Rita in red, I guess you can, on the side of the branding of their chase boat there. Rita in red to stand out, because all of Ben's boats have been named Rita, thanks to his mother and something she saw in church one day, I guess. We've heard that story. Hope they have floaties on that LV trophy. Let's listen to Sir Ben.
60 years, a British team's made the match. How important is this win today for not just you, but for British sailing?
Yeah, it's been a while. Look, it's a massive day for our team, and I'll say how proud I am of everyone, not just here on the water, but also back on the shore here in Barcelona and back. You know, we've got a lot of people back in Brackley in the UK helping us on the technical side, so this is for the team. Massive effort to get us proud and so pleased for everyone to fit in. And for all of our fans and supporters here and back in the UK, like you say, it's a massive moment for
Ben, as you say, it's been a long time coming, but this team here has largely been together for a decade. Just give us an idea.
Yeah,
of what
well,
it's
that's Shirley
taken
Robertson, who also is a Brit.
How big a deal is it for all of you?
How big a deal is it? Well, okay. Why don't we ask something? How did you do well in this condition? Something a little more interesting than these fluffy questions they get asked. Richard Gladwell's just asked a question, and I think he probably knows the answer. This is the first selection series the Brits have won. for selection series, and that is true. 64 was a single challenger. The first selection series technically was 1970, the first challenger selection series. And the challengers, instead of having a single challenger racing against multiple defenders, because the defenders had selection series going back to the 30s. And the challenger, the lone challenger, would show up and get their proverbial asses handed to them by the New York Yacht Club, the defenders. But they started, finally, the Brits and the Aussies and the French. It was actually the French, in the person of Baron Marcel Beek, who convinced New York Yacht Club to have a challenger selection series, multiple challengers. And the first official one, there was a bit of an unofficial one in 7? And then in 1970 was the first official challenger selection series, not yet the Louis Vuitton Cup. There was no sponsorship. Intrepid was the defender, and they won that series against the Aussies in 1970. But only 13 years later, in 1983, with multiple challengers, by then there were, 6 or 7 in Newport in 83, I forget, and only 3 defenders so the balance of power had shifted. I get my microphone here. Had shifted from the defender to the challengers, the multiple challengers. And the multiple challengers, as you all know, has served the challenger well, because no defender other than San Diego, who won it in 87, defended in 88, defended in in 88, then in 1992, then lost it in 95. That's the only defending club that has won it twice as the defender, or won it 3 times in a row, challenge, defender, defender. Everyone else has won it as the challenger, defended it once, and then lost it. And that's, I think, on the sheer strength of the Challenger Selection Series and the balance of power having shifted. And maybe we're seeing that again. Let's ask those in the chat, and let's go to Ed Worley while the chatters are weighing in here. Who's going to win the next series, Ed Worley? What do you think?
I hope Great Britain wins. I want the cup to go back to England so we can win it and bring it back home again.
You think the cup will go to England, or do you think they've already done a deal for Jeddah or someplace else with the Kiwis?
Well, I can only hope, for the sake of history, that it goes back to the Isle of Wight and the next cup races are done in Great Britain. That would only be fitting, considering all the blood, sweat, and tears over the years that Great Britain has put into the cup. I think the British sailing public would be heartbroken.
But who do you think? Come on, Ed. Who do you think will win? Not who do you hope will win?
I think Great Britain will win. I think they have the momentum, and I think the team's really coming together.
Okay, well, Clayton Embley, with whom I spoke yesterday, is saying, and Julia, remind me, Clayton told me about what's called Julia's coffee. Apparently, some sailors have been watching the show, and we've been talking about that bourbon cream and pouring the bourbon cream in coffee, which Julia likes very much. I do, too. But let's get back onto who's going to win. Let's ask Graham Sweeney, who I think I saw a moment ago wiped a tear away from his right eye. Is that true, Graham?
I agree. There was a tear. Yeah. I think we've got the impetus now to go and get the cup. I think that the New Zealanders maybe have been sitting on their laurels for far too long watching all this racing, and they really could have been in amongst it to learn a bit. But who knows with this technology, whether they're ghost racing each other on simulators, or you don't know. But Brit's going to win it.
Let's see what Jimmy has to say. We'll cut to him.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'd really like to congratulate Ineos on just a fantastic final series. And, you know, when I look at the organisation, when they started the prelim regatta to where they ended up here into the finals, I really felt they made the biggest improvement amongst the challengers. So to Ben and Dylan and, you know, the entire team, you know, my hat's off. Really, congratulations.
Okay.
You know, to our team, just what an incredible campaign. Design, engineering.
Well, we'll see. As Jimmy's thanking his team as he should, as he would. Once again, Patrizio Bertelli comes up short. That's really a shame. I almost went to work for Prada back in circa 2007. I'm glad I didn't, and stayed with the Americans. I've never done a cup campaign with anybody other than the Americans. New York Yacht Club, then San Diego Yacht Club, then St. Francis Yacht Club in 2000, and then the Ellison campaigns on behalf of Golden Gate Yacht Club after that. But it's been a good go for Patrizio. Question is, will he do it again? He's 80-something now. Is he 80, 81? Somebody will know. And it'll be interesting to see if he goes again. Jimmy is widely reputed to be putting together a Sail GP team for Italia, for Italy. We'll see about that. Interesting to see that Paul Goodison, well, he's still with New York. We'll see if New York goes again. But there's some movement afoot in the Sail GP side. By the way, I know who is the new owner, sponsor of the Australian team. And I'm not going to say because I've been asked not to say, but Jody Shields has a pretty good idea too. One piece of breaking news here, Graham Sweeney's just said they just announced they're clearing the departure lounge at Heathrow as there's a nutter talking to himself with headphones on. John Emmett, you've caused the lounge to be cleared there at Heathrow. Is that true? Are you the nutter with the headphones on talking to yourself?
Well, they've all gone to the pub and left me, I think. Having queued for half an hour.
Well, that's what Graham Sweeney
I don't
said.
really want to give up the place, but
so, John,
some people already chucked in the luggage, so I guess it must be a very, very dirty plane.
John, let me ask you a question. The Brits, who've had a fabulous go here in the Olympics for the last 5-6 Olympiads, struggled a bit this time in Marseille, but now you've gotten through to the finals of the America's Cup for the first time in 60 years. Which is bigger for the sport in the UK, winning Olympic medals or winning the LVC?
I think it's a bit apples and oranges, but I think the Brits put a very brave face on the Olympic performance this time round because we didn't win a single medal in the Olympics in dinghies, which is just unheard of. And there must be some people who are pretty worried about that. My heart is always with the Olympic sailing. I think it's something very special.
John, let me interrupt here and go to Dylan Fletcher, who both you and I think has been
because it comes around every 4 years.
Let me go to Dylan because we think he's been key to the success of the British team, and Shirley's interviewing him.
Come along. What's that been like?
Yeah, it certainly feels as though like where we're progressing as a team and the communication has been, fantastic. I think that testament to, the software engineers, the performance team, the shore crew looking after the boat. It really just feels like we're building on that momentum and looking forward to, getting into the developments for the Cup and bringing even more speed there.
Dylan, you badgered Ben Ainsley to get your spot on the team. And here you are in the America's Cup. How surreal is that?
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable to be sat here, to be honest. A lifelong dream, and maybe just the right amount of badgering Ben to get an opportunity. So just feel incredibly proud.
The right amount of flattering Ben to get the opportunity. That's pretty good. That's a good one. John, come back to you for one last comment before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Who's going to win, John?
That's
the next
very English.
Who's going to win the next series, John?
That's a very English expression. Bantering means to keep on and on and on at somebody. Not the same as flattery. It's what you do with your sailors to get them to go down the gym. But I mean, you're going to hate me for saying it, but I want to see the boats line up in anger before I feel qualified to give an educated guess.
You're as bad as Worley and Sweeney and... At least Gordon Smith would take a position, but there's Sir Jim. He's got to be a happy boy. I'm glad to see he's back there. Say again, John?
I haven't seen the Kiwis. I mean, if they've stayed still relative to the last time they race, it will be easy for Ineos. But for sure, they haven't happened. They will have been progressing. They would have been out training hard. And we just see what sort of performance gains they've been able to make. But for Ineos to be battle hardened, I think that's really good. And actually, the Kiwis shouldn't have done any of the preliminary series in my mind. None at all. But that's the way the rules were written.
Well, there are a lot of traditionalists that would agree with you. I know Ed Worley agrees with you that the Kiwis should not have been in that series. Ed, Are you there, Ed? Do you think the Kiwis, I don't know if we have a good connection with Ed here looking at the Zoom. Yeah, we do. Okay, Ed, do you think the Kiwis have an advantage having studied these teams, both of them, but now the winner in particular, know their strengths and weaknesses in the various conditions? And what do you think going forward? Is that an advantage for the Kiwis, or are now the Brits battle hardened for this good, tough series against the Italians, and will that give them a leg up come to the match?
I think Ineos has really stepped up their performance in their game, and I think the team's really gelling together, but the Kiwis are pretty tough. But, I don't think they should have been able to race in the Challenger Series anyway, but I think they learned something from the other boats, but I think Ineos is really coming together as a team. It looks like, when you see the Cup history over and over again, and momentum is built, and I disagree with people, the fastest boat hasn't always won the America's Cup. Intrepid in 1970 was not faster. Okay, so it's a team effort. It's a gelling of the team and the confidence of the team to pull off maneuvers. And I think you're going to see a lot of maneuvers taking place in the starts. And I think Ineos can really pull it off this time. I'm happy for them.
Well, we shall see. Yeah, probably 1921, 1934 were better examples of the faster boat not winning. You could argue about Intrepid in 1970 when Ficker was quicker. And, of course, Don Lunabos is saying, repeat, 60 years. Congratulations, 60 years. Peter Bretschker, Commodore Bretschker down in SoCal. Great job, UK. And, it's well done, Palms. John Collins, everybody is filling in here and saying congratulations to Sir Ben, Sir James, Sir Jim, I guess he likes to be called. And bravo Zulu to all of them. Yes, LRPP has been a class act. How many of you think LRPP will go again? Who of you think that the Brits will go again? As we're getting a replay here now off the stream. Sorry, if the Italians will go again, that will be very interesting. Greg Normand is on here. Greg is saying he called it for the Brits 3 weeks ago. He liked, and I've talked and texted with Greg on and off, he, the proprietor of that good YouTube site called Inside Great Lakes Racing or Great Lakes Sailing. And Greg called it for the Brits. He liked their trajectory, I guess would be the right word. He liked the fact that they seemed to be on the upswing. And indeed, they have been. I think several of you made that point. And you've got Alex Hayworth pointing out to us now, you've got a British designer versus British designer in the finals of the match. That's a very interesting and good point. Good point. Yeah, Gordon Smith, we missed you on the Zoom today. You had other commitments, but got to go to the Pony Club. Wonderful. I caught the final leg. Brilliant result. Well, in Europe, what is it, 3 o'clock in the afternoon? You're going to the Pony Club. Well, that's okay. Bob Steele, great watch parties. Yep, my pleasure, Bob. And as I was saying to Chris Odorowski and Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, I think it's easier for us. I think it's a better service to the sport to do these watch parties, but you all tell me it'd be very difficult to do them from Barcelona. If New York were in the final, I probably would have headed over. I certainly would have headed over to watch the final, but with New York having been excused from further participation, that's, I think, not in the cards. Pete Cariso, I probably would not have watched any of this series if it were not for this platform, the watch parties, with your consortium of avid fans, to say nothing of our terrific Zoomers, Pete. The blabber of the ESPN feed can't hold a candle to our production. Well, it's nice to be able to have them as well, but we have so many smart people on here in the chat, in the Zoom, that it's a pleasure for me as well. Graham, is that your lucky shirt? Rick Hayes is asking. He wants to know if that's your lucky shirt, Graham.
Well, I wore it the other race, and we had 2 wins, so I had to wear it today. It seems to be working. So, but I don't believe in luck. It's all about how you set yourself up to win.
Well, Ted
And,
Ted Ryman would like that shirt because it's a Harley shirt, isn't it? Pull your left, the left, you're over. No, the left side. Yeah, we can see go in close on that. Harley Davidson on your plaid shirt. If you didn't have the beard, we'd say you looked a little bit like our vice presidential candidate here in this country from Minnesota, who was in the debate the other day, Tim Walz.
Okay. I do have a bike in the garage, but it's nothing like a Harley. It's just to get me around the island.
Well, Ted Ryman would like your shirt, and Bravo Zulu to you and all the Brits, and especially to Sir Ben and Dylan Fletcher. John Bosley agrees. He thinks the Brits have a very good chance. Their pace looks really good or really well. John Rogers, Coach John Rogers, who's been on with us on the Zoom earlier in this Louis Vuitton series. I think New Zealand will win. Britain massively impressive in all areas for the last few weeks, and it should be a great cup. But however, he thinks NZL will win. Roger Lockhart, the Isle of Wight to take it home, that is the cup, would be historic. Yes, it hasn't been there since 82. Well, the cup's been there. I think most recently we had the cup there for a promotional event that we were all there for, 4 or 5 years ago. And we were the most famous time was the sesquicentennial, the 150th anniversary of the Cup in 2001. The Cup was there in a great regatta, co-hosted by New York Yacht Club and the Royal Yacht Squadron. That was a fabulous event. Rick Bannerow, thank you for all of your support. Rick's a super fozy here, supporting the channel and supporting all that we do here. Tom Fishbeck is as well. Tom, thank you. It is exciting. It was 7-2. What's Mark? Graham did predict Ineos in 7 in our early poll, Mark Holland is saying, but it was 7-2, Graham, not 7-4. But nonetheless, that's not a bad prediction. Chris Elliott says he's now pulling for Ineos. Any team other than New Zealand, it's the only way we'll get a change in boat, Chris Elliott is saying. John Harper, John Emmett, keep in mind that Britain's best Olympic sailor just won the Vuitton Cup. I think the AC and the Olympics can be synergistic if promoted well by the Made for Media. Yeah, Ben Ainsley, of course, the most decorated sailor, Olympic sailor in the history of our sport. But I think you got to keep going back to Dylan Fletcher, who's probably the best foiling sailor on the planet, having won, the last 2 or 3 Moth Worlds and then some. Trey Ritter, thanks to you. Glad that you are on. Jonathan Frank is saying good morning to Julia, who is upstairs in the Commodore's suite. And she's watching. She is lurking there behind her Facebook. Behind her Zoom. Greg Norman thinks the Brits are going to win. That's interesting. I think MJ, Mary Jude Szymanski in Philadelphia, thinks they're going to win. Thanks to you, Alistair Murray, for all you've done for us, and glad to see you again, Sean Hogan, on the men. Guy, don't call me GBR, swallowing hard and pulling for Ineos. He was a big supporter and fan of American Magic, but he, like myself, cheering for the Challenger. I was happy whoever won the Challenger Selection Series, I'd be cheering for the Italians or the Brits, and I'm delighted the Brits have won, and bravo Zulu to them, and hope they can seal the deal, not only for the LVC as they've just done, but for the match. Tom Mitchell down in San Diego was the COO of the 92 match, the 92 defense and the 88 defense as well, saying best way to watch the AC is on these Zooms. Chris Odorowski, it would work. Starlink makes it work. I'd have to lug a lot of equipment there, Chris, and you've offered me a berth on your yacht. We could probably do it right from your yacht. But I think it's easier to do it here from Studio B. Now, Jody Shields, well, I must say I thought the GBR boat had no chance at the start of the regatta as they looked slow in the corners, but far out they have turned the boat around, and I can't wait to watch them up against, he calls them the K1W1, the Kiwi. Bring it on. Jamie Hutchison, we're grateful to you, too, for your high-test coffee, which has helped power us through some of these mornings. Early mornings here in San Francisco. Peter McDonald, whose wife is Bill Ficker's daughter, Dion McDonald, and Peter, a dear friend and great sailor in his own right. And thanks to all of you. I'm not going to read all these comments. Catherine Shaw is viewing from Hobart in Tasmania, So again, we got the world covered at least as far east of us as Bulgaria and as far west as, I think, Perth in WA. There's a comment here. We haven't seen Ben Remacher on. Battle of the 49er gold medalist. Ben, the class manager for the 49er and the 49er FX, as well as the Olympic catamaran. He's noting that Outeridge in 2012, who's, of course, the B helm for the Kiwis, Burling in 2016 were the medalists in the 49er class, and then Dylan Fletcher was the medalist in 2020. Clear, Dylan, of course, with the Brits. Clear route to the top in our sport. He's touting his 49er class. Olympics and pro sailing align nicely with AC and Sail GP, pulling directly from the Olympic fleet, with many doing both at the same time when possible. Interesting point from Ben Remacher. Just above that, who is at the J24 World Championship, is Shilsholi Marina in Seattle. Shilshol, how do you say that here in the States? Up in Seattle. Great coverage and banter. Yes, indeed. Bob Piste, nice to see you on. Jeff Kitson makes an interesting comment. If LRPP, I'm going to put we had the Italian flag on the TV. They're covering their base. That big Italian flag. But a nice observation from Jeff Kitson saying if LRPP didn't have numerous breakages, results likely would have been, or at least maybe would have been, different. Viva la différence. But Bravo Zulu to the Brits. If there hadn't been the breakdowns, the Brits may have sailed differently in order to get more wins in the races when the Italians did break down, as there you see them over my shoulder here in the PIP, the picture-in-picture. So I think that pretty well wraps it up. As you see, the Italians are back at their base. Their fans still hugely supported, but needless to say, very disappointed. John Rogers, I suggest your watch parties for other events after the Cup is over. It's a great sharing of info, stories, and ideas. Yeah, we've done watch parties for the Sydney Hobart start and finish, John, and maybe we can expand that. I'll talk to Julia upstairs and see if we can persuade Graham and John Emmett, Gordon Smith, and the other Zoomers to come on for other watch parties, because they have been such a key point in all this. Gents, thank you to you. Thanks again to Julia, who is the superest of all our Fozy. She is a big backer of the show, and, of course, my co-host here on our regular Tuesday and Friday shows. By the way, no regular show today. I'm beat. I haven't had time to prepare a show, a 1300 show today, Friday. But we will do regular shows next Tuesday and Friday. I promise it, unless, I get COVID or something. Hopefully not. But we've got a bit of a week off because the match starts next Saturday, the 12th, a week from tomorrow. The Brits against the Defenders Emirates Team New Zealand. And it should be, one can only hope, a real barn burner, as Clark Chapin and I and the others from Michigan on here would say. Chris Higgins, cheers to you. Annie Gardner, I meant to say now you can sleep in for a week. Well, the problem is I was talking with Stingray yesterday up in Seattle. Those of us on the West Coast who've been getting up at 4 to do this at 5, even yesterday I was wide awake at 4:30. Julia's been waking up upstairs, I know. So it's, once you're kind of on this, it's a little bit like jet lag. You wonder if you ought to just stay on the early mornings until next Saturday. Alistair, thank you again, Mr. President of Australian Sailing. By the way, the women's, let's not forget about the women's event, which they had their press conference today. Their first race is tomorrow. We may dip in and cover some of that. We'll see how that goes, how that feels. Interesting, I was with Richard Gladwell on the texting back and forth earlier this morning, going over the list of women who were in that press conference. And in fact, I knew most of the women, including our Fozy Olivia Price, who is skippering for Australia in the Women's America's Cup. The only woman I didn't know was the American skipper at that press conference, but I'll look her up, check in with her as we see the Italians getting some TV time here. Well-deserved disappointment, of course, again for Mr. Signore, Patrizio Bertelli. It'll be interesting to see if there have been a lot of Italian fans there in Barcelona. Will we see a lot of Brits now making their way down there? I suspect we will, as Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin said he would be filtering down to Barcelona after he's done in Saint-Tropez. Andrew Dolly Davola in Oz. He's back in Barca to support his Aussie girls. Good to hear that, Dolly. Dolly is a superb windsurfer, even at a reasonably advanced age. I think he's almost my age. Tom Pace found the press release September 10th. Dalton, we can see a cup in potentially 2026. Yeah, we all saw that release. We covered it on one of our shows. Ted Ryman, who's also a Brit, it's the best AC coverage with you at the commentary helm. Well, it's even better when we have John Emmett not in an airport traveling to Villamora. And we appreciate, again, our Zoomers and our chatterers and all of you who've signed on. I think it's, and John Emmett agreeing with Ben Remacher about the 49er class and the Olympians who have been such a key to this. Emmett has found his plane. That's good to know. And I hope all of you are finding the way clear to the rest of your day, whether you're in the afternoon in Europe or in your early morning here in the States or in your late evening now down in Auckland, where it's, in fact, early morning, 02:16 on Saturday morning in Auckland, and it's 23:16 in Sydney. As we watch this they're going to wrap this telecast up in about 14 minutes, I think, 13 minutes. I think I will wrap our stream up and bid you all adieu as we are well and truly to the finish line of the 2024 Louis Vuitton Cup, the Challenger Selection Series. There's a nice shot. I want to go back to that nice toe-in shot of the Brits. And it'll be a big party there in Barcelona tonight for the Brits and no doubt for the Italians. And it's interesting how the teams actually mingle. Not for long, but the Italians will probably go over to the British base and have a shake of the hands and maybe a glass or two of something non-alcoholic or more. Bravo Zulu to Rita, to Britannia, to Ineos Britannia. Bravo Zulu to the Italians for what has been a terrific series. And we do well and truly look forward to the match. Right, Graham Sweeney, you want one last word to our OG, the original Zoomer, Graham Sweeney?
I was just going to say, can you see in the picture there, looks like Scorpios. They were wondering where that boat had gone. Have you seen the background?
Is that a Russian boat?
That's the Russian Super Maxi, isn't it?
Could be. Is that it? Where is it, Graham?
Up here, just by the just by the hangar there, right between the hangar. Right with your finger there. Yeah.
Up in here?
Yeah, it's out of the water.
Oh, this boat. Oh, yeah. Okay. The Swan 125?
Yeah, I think they said they didn't know where it was going or where it was hiding at the moment, but there it is.
Yeah, well, that's what Baton Rouge is saying. The Swan 125, Alan Long saying, yeah, the yellow hull that we were just pointing to. Isn't it great? This is a poor man's telestrator. I can circle with my finger. I can't really do any drawing on it. Yes, it's a Swan. It's Scorpios. Chris Otorowski, who's been in Barcelona. He's in Newport now, but he's headed back there. And Bobby Steele saying Barcelona will certainly turn it on. It'll be a great AC venue. Let's see if there's any wind. Thank goodness there was some wind today because the forecast was not great for today, and it was not great for the weekend. So I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it's over, and we got a week off, and both the Brits and the Kiwis, no doubt, in full preparation mode from tomorrow. We'll see if Sir Ben gives his team part of the day off tomorrow to recover from a party tonight, which is, of course, well-deserved. Graham, Rick Banner is saying Pat Milley for all of us, Fozy. If Milley isn't happy, Graham isn't happy. I don't see Millie in your shot there.
No, Millie's upstairs. She gets a bit too excited and starts jumping all over me when I start screaming at screens.
Okay.
For my sake and hers, I have to keep her out of the way.
I think John Emmett is on his plane. I'm not sure we've ever had somebody live from a flight, so let's go to John on board his flight headed to Villamora from Heathrow for a final thought. John? I think we'll go to John. He's smiling. His audio is still muted, but maybe he's clicking away, clicking and clacking on whatever screen he's on. He's now vertical, trying to get his audio turned on. You can see him there in the upper right-hand corner. There he is. Final thought from John on board his flight.
Just told us to turn off all electronic devices.
I don't know that we're going to get John on. The connection's not very good. Okay, it was a good effort, John. Thanks to you for your commentary. And we'll call it a day from John Emmett. And we'll go now to our Fozy down in SoCal, Ed Worley, who's been cheering for the Americans, but now, Ed, you're saying the Brits are going to go through to the match. Is that right? I mean, not only through to the match, they're going to beat the Kiwis in the match.
Yes, I think it'll be close, but they'll beat the Kiwis, yes.
Okay, what's your call? How many races?
At least 10. I think at least 10 races.
Okay, 10 races. It's, of course, like the finals of the LVC. It's the first to win 7, or at least the first to 7 points. And, John, put your seat in the full upright position. Put your tray table up. Be sure your seatbelt is fastened. Turn your phone. Put it in airplane mode. Don't try to talk to us. Ryman, Bannerow, Pace, yes. Tom Pace, he's giving one last shout-out to American Magic. And all the rest of you, thank you very much indeed for joining us for these LVC watch parties. Maybe we'll do one for the women sometime this week. We will do our regular shows on Tuesday and Friday. Julia will be back down here joining me in Studio B over at her table. And with that, I think we'll wrap this up by saying, please like, follow, and share. Push those buttons. That helps us with the algorithm, both with YouTube and Facebook. It'll help tell you. You'll get a notice when we are live. If I, for example, go live on Wednesday maybe to watch the Women's America's Cup, there's a nice shot of the Italian flag at their base. Actually, on the yacht, it looks like. No, that's at their base in that crane. A sad group, but they should be. I'm going to listen here. Let's see what we can hear. Do we have audio? Let me see if I got some audio.
The team able to do a little step every day is the team that takes the win, and I think they've done that, and they sail just better than us.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. The team that does a little step each day, and that's what the Brits have clearly done, as several of you have pointed out, and I think that is exactly right. So bravo Zulu to the Itals, to Luna Rosa Prada Pirelli. Bravo Zulu to all of you. Thanks again. I can't thank you enough. I'd be sitting here in this studio watching it myself with a coffee, being bored, and you've also made it much more fun and interesting for me. Graham Sweeney, final thought from him. If the Brits win the AC, it will be because of the fight Luna Rosa has given them. I think that's a very good point indeed. Comments are welcome, even in replay. And we'll see. I think I've sorted out the copyright issues with YouTube. Sometimes YouTube takes them down, but I don't get a copyright strike. It's an interesting dichotomy from YouTube, but I'll be working on that this week. Also, any of you who want to support us via Patreon, we really appreciate $1 or $2 or $5, or some of you quite a bit more than that per month, or patrons via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Again, to help keep this facility here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District, to keep it on the air, us on the air. Upcoming schedule, again, no regular show today at 1300. I'll do a post up on Facebook after we get off the air here, but no regular show today. I haven't had time to prepare one. It takes me about 8 hours to prepare, 7 hours to prepare a show the afternoon before and the morning of, and I'm frankly just stuffed, as you Brits would say, Aussies, Kiwis. And we'll take the afternoon off. No watch party tomorrow because the LVC is over. No watch party Sunday because the LVC is over. Next week, our regular show's at 1300 on both Tuesday and Friday. And maybe we'll dip in and do a watch party for the women. We'll see. Let me know what you think about that, whether we should do that or not. But if that series is interesting, and I think it will be, we may take a look at that in a watch party this week. And then finally, next Saturday, if you all think it's a good idea, and it sounds like you do, we will be doing a watch party starting Saturday for races 1 and 2 of the 37th edition of the oldest trophy in international, at least, if not all sports, but international sports, the America's Cup. With that, I bid you adieu from San Francisco. Thanks to all of you for watching. Thanks to all of you for contributing to the content of the show. We hope to see you next. I have a new theme song because I was getting copies. Somebody bought the music that we were using, which had been royalty free. So we got a new theme for our outro. Thanks to all of you. Sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. And we'll see you Tuesday afternoon for our regular show. Ciao for now.